Let's take a look at the top 5 highest player grades for West Virginia, both on offense and defense in the game against UCF, according to PFF. Let's start here on the defensive side. And coming in at number 5 for West Virginia was Malachi Ruffin. Talked about him in this game, not only playing the cornerback position as he has all season, but having to play some safety as well, and ended up grading out decently, 70.4 to come out as the 5th highest graded Mountaineer player on defense, and he's really done a good job for the West Virginia secondary this season, just being consistent more than anything, and that's all you can ask for. And how about this one at number 4? Coming in as the 4th highest graded Mountaineer on defense against UCF, Jacoby Spells, 71.5 defensive grade, playing the 17 snaps, and really did a great job in this game, filling in at cornerback at times when they did shift Malachi Ruffin back to safety to try and, spell out those deep safeties when they needed to. And how about spelling Malachi Ruffin and doing it admirably? And you like to see that. And here's a guy with, a super high ceiling, and I think he's only going to continue to come into his own at this position, and we're going to see him play more and more, probably not only through the latter portion of this season, but even further on his Mountaineer career. He's only at the tip of the iceberg of what he can do, but glad to see, him not only look good to the naked eye out there, but to grade out well, according to PFF, also coming out as the 4th highest graded Mountaineer on defense with a 71.5. And then at number 3, I like to call him Steady Eddie here on the Mountaineer defensive line, and that's Eddie V, the Mountaineer defensive tackle. Done a great job this season, being consistent. That's why I call him Steady Eddie. And he comes out with a 72.0 defensive grade in this one as the 3rd highest graded Mountaineer on defense. Made some big plays in this game, and I thought, the biggest of which was probably one that forced a turnover for the Mountaineers at a critical time when it looked like UCF could take control of the game. And I think that's something you can say about the West Virginia defense performance in this game overall. Was there were several times where it looked like UCF was going to take control, but the Mountaineer defense made a play and made an impact that really turned that tide back and shifted that momentum back in the Mountaineers' favor. And Eddie V helped provide one of those plays, getting in, providing a pass rush, hitting the arm of John Rice Plumlee, which led to a Marcus Floyd interception, one of the 4 turnovers West Virginia would force on the day. So you love Eddie V making plays there, and he grades out high because of it with a 72.0 grade. 3rd highest graded Mountaineer on defense. And then number 2, another guy that had one of those impactful plays, and that's a guy that's had impactful plays since he came to West Virginia, and that's, of course, Lee Koba. Had a great game at the linebacker position, leading the team in snaps there on the defensive side at the linebacker spot, as usual, and he grades out highly there, 80 defensive grade from PFF. And I mentioned those plays where West Virginia had that really shifted the momentum back in their favor, and Lee Koba had maybe the biggest one of the game there because it allowed West Virginia to finally, take control there in the second half, and was a big reason they were able to go on what was a 17-0 run that spanned across the end of the 3rd quarter and towards the late part of the 4th quarter. And that was because West Virginia finally got ahead, and UCF had to play from behind and pass the football more than they wanted to. And one reason they were able to get that advantage was Lee Koba coming in on a blitz. You mentioned West Virginia ran the blitz a couple other times in the game, didn't quite get there, but this time it opened up perfectly for him. He saw he had a chance at the football, not only made the sack, but knocks the ball out of John Rice Plumlee's hands. Jalen Thornton recovers, and it's a game-changing play made by one of your best players on defense and one of your team leaders, and he really stood out in this game. Grades out well, 2nd highest graded Mountaineer on defense with the 80.0 grade. And then the highest graded Mountaineer on defense, this one's awesome to see too. His cohort, Ben Cutter, playing the Mike linebacker position, 85.6 defensive grade. And here's a guy that, playing as a true freshman, thrust into the action more than he probably expected, more than the coaching staff certainly expected, as he was the guy that they probably wanted to, work in easily, play him, a handful of snaps and really kind of ease him into things. But following the injury to Trey Lathan, had to play a ton. You saw in the first couple of games following Trey Lathan's injury, just making some freshman mistakes out there. But you see the learning curve for Ben Cutter is not going to be very steep. He's a quick learner because already a couple games later he's having, probably his best performance that he's had yet. So really bouncing back in a big way in this UCF game. They got Caden Boswian on the action to spell him a little bit, and I think it kept him fresh, especially late in the game, and you saw him really perform well because of that. Racked up a good bit of tackles and made a lot of important plays for West Virginia, including another TFL, something he's done recently for West Virginia, and he grades out high on PFF because of his performance. Actually, the highest graded Mountaineer on defense against UCF with the 85.6 grade. So those are the top highest graded Mountaineers on defense. Let's flip it over and take a look at the highest graded Mountaineers on offense. And we just keep seeing these freshmen pop up on these grades for West Virginia. So awesome to see these youngsters, and just goes to show there's a bright future for West Virginia if they can keep these core of guys together. They've got a lot of bright spots on the defensive side that are playing, that popped up in the grades there. They've got, some that are even out with injury. They're going to be big time, playmakers in the future when you look at, Lathan and Trotter. And then on the offensive side, they really have some impactful true freshmen that we're going to see here on the offensive player grades from the UCF game. Starting here at number 5, a fan favorite since he committed, West Virginia with a big recruiting win to get him to commit. He's a top 20 recruit all time in West Virginia football history, in terms of rating. And, he's really shown why this season, contributing as much as he has as a true freshman. And in this game, we saw him, get some of the most touches that he's had in that true freshman season. And he did a lot with them, looked good to the naked eye, and yet again grades out well on PFF as well. 5th highest graded Mountaineer on offense, Rodney Gallagher III, 67.6 grade. And it's another guy that you're just seeing, the tip of the iceberg, because his ceiling is just through the roof. So it's going to be really impressive, the potential for him the rest of his career. And can't wait to see what he does, not only for the rest of this season, but throughout that career here at West Virginia, as he comes out as the 5th highest graded player on offense in this one. Then at number 4, the 4th highest graded Mountaineer on offense. Talked about him a lot and kind of sung his praises. I said he's the most underrated offensive lineman for West Virginia, and I think that's Thomas Remack. 67.9 grade in this game. Not only grades out well and really performed well, and I think was a big reason West Virginia's rushing offense had probably their best game in quite some time, was that left side being back to form with him and Wyatt Milam there together. But you can't fail to mention that play that, kept West Virginia from having another turnover when a fumble comes loose and there's several UCF players around, but he's able to dive on it, beat them to the ball, and secure it. Just really important play that, won't necessarily show up on the stat sheet for Thomas Remack, but was very impactful in the game. And he made a lot of plays that did show up on the stat sheet and led to him having a nice grade there as the 4th highest graded Mountaineer on offense with a 67.9. Then you get into our top 3, and it shows how good West Virginia played in the running game in this one, because all 3 of these guys have 80-plus grades. And that, of course, starts off with C.J. Donaldson, who we've talked a lot about, needing to bounce back, and he bounced back in a huge way. 80.3 offensive grade, led the Mountaineers in rushing. Really had, I thought, probably what was his best performance of the season. 17 carries, 121 yards, and a touchdown. Really great yards per carry average, something we've been looking for him to bring up. And he really ran hard and ran tough throughout the whole game. I think what stands out to me is there at the end when West Virginia is running the ball, when they know it's coming and you're trying to close out the football game, when West Virginia was still able to do that, and C.J. Donaldson was still running very hard, literally carrying a defender on his back all the way down to the 10-yard line on a 30-plus yard run there to close the game for West Virginia. So he ran hard from start to finish, bookended the game with 30-yard runs. His first carry was on a 4th and 1 where he, had 30 yards, and then that one that I just mentioned there. So great performance from start to finish for C.J. Donaldson. Hopefully he continues to look like that for the rest of the season for West Virginia, because if he does, they're going to be scary good as he comes out as the 3rd highest graded Mountaineer on offense with the 80.3, and just ahead by a 10th of a point there, Garrett Green, old GG here, number 2 highest graded Mountaineer on offense, 80.4 grade. Can't say enough good things about him in recent weeks. In this game, they really put a lot on him. The coaching staff said gave him the most, they've had in the Reed game this season. He did a lot for West Virginia running the football, ran for 3 touchdowns in this game, the most rushing touchdowns by a West Virginia quarterback since Pat White in 2008. So Garrett Green's really doing some special things this season, and I think he's proving to be a really special player, more so than maybe anyone expected. And Garrett Green can lead West Virginia to a lot of wins, and hopefully he leads West Virginia to a few more throughout the remainder of this season. And I think he will if he continues to play well, both throwing the football and running the football as he did in this game, to grade out highly, second highest graded Mountaineer on offense with the 80.4 grade. And he's really doing the little things right, and he's managing the offense well, staying mistake-free for the most part. And that's, something you don't see on the stat sheet. And that's something that Garrett Green brings. He just has that kind of intangible it factor to him that stands out and is going to lead to a lot of wins, I think. So that's why I say the things I say about him having the potential to lead you to wins. And you loved his performance, and you love his grit all the time. You love it in this game, especially after he went down with what you thought would be an ankle injury that would keep him out. Not only does he return, but he returns and leads the team to a double-digit victory on the road when they were an underdog. And a lot of that is because of his performance, 3 rushing touchdowns. So you love to see it from Garrett Green. And then you also love to see it from another West Virginia running back. And we talked a lot a minute ago about a bunch of true freshmen popping up here. And how about this one? Maybe the most impressive of the bunch. He's the one that I've been waiting on to break out. I've talked about it's really coming, guys. It's going to happen for Jem White. I've been singing his praises since the off season. Put out one of our more successful videos on the channel here, naming him a potential breakout player. And I think that he's shown that to be the case. Probably gotten the most action of, most any true freshman on West Virginia's roster, and continues to show why that is the case, that he is the freshman that they chose to, have that role, because he's just so explosive that you can't keep him off the field. 85.2 grade, easily the highest graded Mountaineer on offense in this game. His yards per carry average continues to be impressive, and he just gives you that different dimension that you haven't had at running back in quite some time at West Virginia, and no one else in your running back room right now really gives you. And that's just that speed and the ability to break off, a potential home run, to, those explosive plays. He looked really good. He did that several times in this game, got some explosive plays. But I think we're just seeing, the start of what could be with Jem White. I think you could see this guy really break off some big plays in the future of his Mountaineer career. Hopefully some happens this season, because some are definitely going to happen over the next few years. Hopefully we get to see a few more over these next 4 games, because I think his role is going to continue to increase over these next 4 games. We're at the point of the season where these true freshmen are really coming into their own, and no one may be coming into their own more than Jem White, the true freshman West Virginia running back. 85.2 offensive grade. Phenomenal performance from him and the West Virginia rushing offense in general in this game against UCF, as he comes out as the highest graded Mountaineer player on offense in this 41-28 win over the Knights. And you love to see the rushing performance from West Virginia, 286 yards, so nearly 300 on the ground. And if they can continue to be that strong with, Jem White and CJ Donaldson, both as threats in different ways. Plus, you got to worry about Garrett Green hurting you with his legs, or West Virginia attacking you downfield. This offense certainly looks like it's tough to stop, and could be a good rest of the season for West Virginia. Having said that, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz, and until next time, let's go Mountaineers.